Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to Williamsburg and the College of William and Mary. We're all familiar with that old saying that one should never fall in love with a tennis player because to them, love means nothing. Well, we're going to spend the next 3 hours totally disproving that tennis and love mean a great deal. This will be another special evening in the long and glorious history of our college, one that will celebrate women's collegiate tennis and 4 individuals who brought excellence and elegance to their careers as participants in this wonderful game. We take pride in having founded the Women's Intercollegiate Tennis Hall of Fame on our campus. It was a bold step, but one that was long overdue for women's tennis. The ITA actually awarded this Hall of Fame to William and Mary in 1988, but it was only through the vision and the generosity of Mark and Betsy McCormick that we finally had a site. And on April 1st, 1995, the McCormick-Nagelson Tennis Center was dedicated, and the Women's Collegiate Tennis Hall of Fame became a reality. 13 years and 10 classes of inductees later, we are here to honor the class of 2008. 4 exceptionally talented women who have played mightily, coached intensely, and contributed generously to the game of tennis. Would each of you please stand as I say your name? Janice Metcalf Cromer, University of Redlands. Gigi Fernandez, Clemson University. Wendy White-Prasa, Rollins College. And Alice Luthi Tim from the University of Florida. Welcome to each of you, and we look forward to hearing more about your exploits after dinner. Once again, it's my pleasure to bring to the microphone David Benjamin, Executive Director of the ITA, who will offer his words of welcome. David?
Thank you, Gary. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Intercollegiate Tennis Association, we'd like to congratulate all of the inductees this evening and their families for the great honor that they are receiving and one that is so richly deserved. We'd also like to thank the College of William and Mary for hosting this banquet and more importantly for housing and being the home of our Intercollegiate Tennis Women's Hall of Fame. There are 3 people particularly that I would like to thank. As Gary already mentioned, Betsy and Mark McCormick, and most especially a woman who you all know very well, who I first got to know about 30 years ago, and about 20 years ago we had many conversations about the possibility of William and Mary having the Women's Hall of Fame. And I can tell you personally, I think most of you realize this, but it really was Millie West who made this all happen and who has nurtured this wonderful building from the first idea of it all the way till tonight. So on behalf of all of us, we'd like to thank Millie for everything she's done for college tennis. And I promised Gary I would be brief, so I hope you enjoyed this evening. And again, great thanks to the college for helping support women's college tennis and the ITA. Thank you.
David, thank you for being with us and for those warm words of welcome. It's always great to have you here. We're also delighted to welcome three distinguished guests attending tonight. I'm going to list all three of them and ask that they stand together. Lydia De La Rosa, Executive Director of the USTA Caribbean Section. Elaine Freeman, longtime Executive of the USTA Mid-Atlantic Region. And Pat Marmion, wife of the late Harry Marmion, who was past president of the USTA. And it isn't always possible for former inductees to attend, but it's a pleasure to have three of them with us tonight, including Donna Fales, 1997. Donna? Jenny Mack, also 1997. And Nancy Reed, who was inducted in 2002. The Hall of Fame selection is the work of a national committee. The members and their universities are listed on page 2 of your program. We appreciate all the work they do on behalf of the Hall of Fame, and all of them would like to be here tonight, but most of them are heavily involved in their coaching responsibilities. But I would like to welcome those members who could be here. In addition to David Benjamin and Millie West, we have Brian Calvis from the University of North Carolina, Kathy Kalankowitz from the University of New Mexico, and Meredith Walton from the College of William and Mary. Please stand. There will be other important introductions after dinner. This time, will you join me for the invocation? Let us pray. Lord, we are gathered in your presence to celebrate the glorious game of tennis as it's played by women on college campuses everywhere. We give thanks to you for this gift to us all, and we express our gratitude for the many blessings of this life, including our health and the opportunity to be together this evening. We ask that you watch over us and keep us within the lines of the game of life. We ask that you bless the food we're about to partake for the nourishment of our bodies and the goodness of our souls. In your name we pray. Amen. As you enjoy the first course, a video narrated by our own Betsy McCormick will give you glimpses of the Hall of Fame and some of our former inductees. Bon appetit.
Hi, I'm Betsy Nagelson McCormick, and I'm pleased to have this opportunity to introduce to you the Women's Collegiate Tennis Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame opened in 1995 after nearly a decade of hard work and planning. My husband Mark and I are especially proud that the hall is located in the McCormick-Nagelson Tennis Center at William and Mary, Mark's alma mater. Thanks to many generous donors, our collection of trophies and memorabilia has grown every year. But the Hall of Fame is more than just a place. It's a celebration of a century of remarkable change in women's tennis. It honors the pioneers of the game and serves as an inspiration for current and future players. Here's a look at some of the highlights.
If you think landing on the moon was a giant step for mankind, you're wrong. Landing at William and Mary is a super step for women's collegiate athletics.
I started tennis in '55, and all the other inductees that have been here tonight and who we've honored, I kept a scrapbook. I read every history book I could. I read Tennis with Heart at least 15 times. I kept every newspaper clipping. Shirley Fry has no idea how big she was in my life. And I don't think we could have made our new breakthroughs and created new traditions. I know I couldn't have been a part of it without having such appreciation for the history of the sport. And I know our love and our passion to either be a part of it or to play is what brings us all together here tonight. And I would just like to thank everyone for that and for us to always remember that's our common ground.
Watching that video, I had two thoughts. One is, I had a very small racket and very big hair. So, that's changed. And the other thought was, my, how far women's tennis has come. And boy, did we have fun.
I just want you all to know that this night for me is a night to say thank you. I didn't get here by myself. My mother taught me how to love. My father taught me how to fight for the things that you love. And I love my family, I love my friends, and I love tennis.
Before we move into the main portion of the program, we have some wonderful benefactors to thank. Joe and Linda Montgomery have been so dedicated and have a long-term sponsorship of this event. I'd like Joe and Linda to please stand and be recognized. And we have a number of college women athletes here tonight, and we're so glad you're here. And most of you are here through the wonderful generosity of a man named John Jameson, who is underwriting a portion of your dinner. As he stands, will all of you ladies give him a big hand? I have to divert from the program for just a minute to tell you a quick story. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, there was another group in this room. It was a career fair. The room was totally unprepared for this evening tonight. And because she is so beloved, Lisa Garwood was able to talk 18 members of the William and Mary football team to come in and set up the room for our dinner tonight. Unfortunately, there's only one note of sorrow to this whole evening, and that is that Lisa is leaving us to move on to another wonderful opportunity in life in another city. But she has served with great competence as Director of Special Events in the athletic department. We want to thank you, Lisa, for all you've done. I mentioned that there are lots of teams here today. It's been accustomed to schedule an intercollegiate tournament during this weekend so that today's collegiate players can learn how these inductees and those of the past have been instrumental in increasing their opportunities to play the game at the highest level. They are superior role models for you, and I'm glad that many of you could attend. Please hold your applause as I introduce the teams that could be here this evening. Tracy Green and 4 members of the Harvard team are here. Lee Taylor Walker and 2 members of the University of Memphis team are with us. Chuck Mertzbacher and 8 Ohio State Buckeyes are with us tonight. And Meredith Walton, our brand new coach at William & Mary, and 8 members of her team. Also, thanks to Dan Wakely, Shirley Williams, and many members of our booster group, the ACES, for handling all of the many details of the tournament. Would all of you please stand and receive our applause? Thank you again for being here. At this time, it's my special pleasure to introduce to you our president at William & Mary. In doing so, I wish to note that his wife, Helen, is also in attendance this evening. Thank you, Helen, for being here. In a year of a national election, we're all focused on qualifications and experience. And the job of college president requires a myriad of special skills, and our new president has all of these talents to the nth degree. He is a scholar, having graduated Phi Beta Kappa from Princeton, where he was also a member of Crew, and the University of Virginia Law School. He is an author and expert on the war powers of the President and Congress. He served for many years as managing director of one of our nation's most distinguished law firms. He has been for nearly a decade the dean of our own Marshall Wyth School of Law at William & Mary, and he has contributed his leadership and management skills to many nonprofit organizations. He's been a husband and father, and especially important in these days, he has a wry sense of humor. At a critical time in the history of this venerable old college, he has stepped forth to lead us to higher levels of achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, the 27th President of the College of William & Mary, Taylor Reevely.
Gary, thank you so much for those gracious, indeed succulent words. It's always good to have you back on campus here at William & Mary, where you served so remarkably as our undergraduate dean of admission many, many moons ago. A very warm welcome to each of you from the College of William & Mary. My wife Helen and I are delighted to be with you for this glittering occasion. Having just flown back from New York City late this afternoon, it is especially nice to be here. The Big Apple is not a very cheerful place these days, as its great financial institutions shake, rattle, and roll some of them into oblivion. Nor was LaGuardia Airport in a very good mood this afternoon. Despite absolutely gorgeous weather, there were 28 planes in line ahead of mine for takeoff when we left in the middle of the afternoon, when you would have thought there might have been 1 or 2. So we sat on the runway materially longer than we were in the air to Richmond. Thus, it is truly great to be here for an inspiring, uplifting, and morale-boosting evening. William & Mary attracts gifted athletes who are also serious students. They excel both in their sports and in their classes. Indeed, we have a grand tradition here of mating academic and athletic excellence Indicatively, our recent graduation rate for athletes has been 96%. That's an amazing percentage. Our powerful student-athlete tradition at William & Mary has been well nurtured by one person in particular. A person small of stature but great of heart, talent, and enthusiasm. This person, of course, is the incomparable, the indomitable Millie West. Millie, please stand again and receive our acclaim again. Now, we just heard from Gary. It's really wonderful that we have so many college tennis players and coaches on campus this weekend. You are very, very welcome here. It's also splendid, of course, to have on campus our 4 2008 Hall of Fame inductees. Their accomplishments are striking. They will be extolled shortly. The ITA Women's Tennis Hall of Fame does important work by honoring and preserving the history of women's intercollegiate tennis. It was Millie West who spearheaded the effort to bring the Hall of Fame to the College of William & Mary. The financial wherewithal crucial to provide a fitting home for the Hall, as well as a productive, elegant home for William & Mary tennis, came from Mark and Betsy Nagelson McCormick. Their names grace William & Mary's marvelous tennis facility. The legendary Mark McCormick was, in fact, a William & Mary alumnus, class of 1951. He mattered enormously to his college, serving on its Board of Visitors. Board of Visitors is Virginia speak for Board of Trustees. He led one of our major capital campaigns among countless other services to his alma mater. In 2004, a tribute to Mr. McCormick was part of that year's ITA Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. Let's watch a video about Mark that was part of that tribute.
A lot of people can have an impact on a sport or in their particular country, but this man had an impact on the world. I mean, Mark McCormick built over $1 billion company. I mean, it's mind-boggling. You could go anywhere in the world and IMG was there.
The keys to Mark McCormack's later extraordinary success were evident at William & Mary. A French major, Mark played #1 on William & Mary's golf team. He would later combine his love of sports and global vision to create International Management Group. The 1951 yearbook also reveals a less public side of Mark, his commitment to giving back. The young man who led the campus chapter of the Red Cross continued to give energy and support to worthy causes throughout his life. Nowhere did Mark give more generously than to his alma mater, an alma mater he shared with his daughter Leslie, class of 1988, and hoped to share with his youngest child, Maggie. Mark's first gift to the college supported men's golf and women's tennis. This began a tradition of support that would transform the William & Mary tennis program. Mark then established a scholarship in honor of his beloved French professor, Marcel Robesson. And he said yes when the college asked him to chair its $150 million campaign for the 4th century. Mark continued to support tribe tennis, and along with his wife, Betsy, built the McCormack-Nagelson Tennis Center.
This is a wonderful, wonderful moment for the College of William & Mary.
Because of Mark and Betsy's generosity, the McCormack-Nagelson Tennis Center is now home to the ITA Women's Tennis Hall of Fame.
I'm honored to be the only man inducted into the Women's Collegiate Hall of Fame.
This isn't easy. When Mark McCormick passed away, I lost one of my closest friends. And the world of sports and entertainment lost one of its great giants. For well over 40 years, Mark and I had an unwritten bond that meant a great deal to both of us. in our business affairs and in our personal lives. It all grew out of a handshake in 1960 that reflected the mutual trust and respect we had for each other.
Mark remains, and I am 60 years of age today, the most intelligent person I have ever met. He was kind and gentle and caring, also so very strong with that unique foresight that I have found in no one else.
The champion golfer for the year, Tiger Woods.
Oh, unbelievable shot.
His third British Open, his second in succession at St Andrews.
Magnifico Jackie Stewart, campeón de España. Jean-Claude Killy, 3 médailles d'or.
That's it, she's done it. A marvellous victory for her.
The Open champion, Nick Faldo.
The applause will be tumultuous. Look at that.
Since this compelling video was made, another important honor has come to Mark McCormack, this one after his death. Last July 2008, he was inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame in Newport, Rhode Island. There is no greater honor in the world of tennis. Tonight we honor the memory of Mark by acclaiming 4 players who exemplify his sort of spirit and accomplishment. No one is better able to recognize these players than Betsy Nagelson McCormick herself, a charter member of the Women's Tennis Hall of Fame, a professional tennis player, a philanthropist, a commentator, an author, and a mother. Betsy has excelled in many spheres, except in 1998, when she was about to give birth to her daughter, Maggie. Betsy has been at the helm for every one of our Hall of Fame inductions. Betsy has also been a partner or an opponent, a friend of many of our inductees over the years. Betsy, please come and do the deed.
I always forget that you show that video. So, it just makes it extra special for me to be here and to be a part of this. And no one loved this place, this college more than my husband, Mark. And I'm honored to be here and to do the inductions once again. And I want to thank you, President Reevely, for your generous comments, and I'm so happy to meet you. I know that even though we're just getting acquainted, I know that when you met Mark back in 2002, you two got along famously, and I congratulate you. And I know that I cannot take Mark's place, but I can tell you how happy I am to be here and to stay connected with this place that he loved so dearly. And I thank you so much for keeping Mark's memory alive here, and we all know what Millie has done. Well, every year the induction class has been special for me, but this year's inductees are exceptional. Neither the exhibit, the program, nor the video can adequately cover the many personal and professional achievements, plus the contributions to tennis these inductees have made. All of them have played collegiate tennis, then played as professionals on the tour without letting their tennis careers interfere with their education. All have college degrees. 1 has a doctorate, 2 have masters, 1 has an MBA in progress. Janice, Gigi, Wendy, and I are personal friends whom I've played with and against throughout our amateur and professional careers. I only know of Alice, but besides her own success as a player and coach, I am even more impressed by her drive to create more opportunities for women. As an undergraduate, she initiated the varsity team at the University of Florida. As a coach, she created the varsity team at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. Members of the UTC and Yale teams are well represented tonight. All 4 inductees have cleared barriers to make it easier for today's collegiate players to train and compete at a higher level. It is a special pleasure to have some current collegiate players in the audience here tonight. I feel sure that meeting and hearing about the inductees will give you a deeper appreciation for what they have done to expand your tennis opportunities. Above all, I hope that tonight will inspire you to give back to the sport to help those who follow you. And now let's begin our introductions of the 2008 inductees. Janice Metcalf Cromer. Janice's father, a 2-time Olympian in the javelin, was Janice's coach until she entered college. He must have been an excellent coach because when she entered the University of Redlands, she was asked to join the men's team because the women's coach thought she was too strong for the women's team. To play on the men's team was quite a feat since the men's team was already very strong and had dominated their competition regionally and nationally for years. My friendship with Janice began during our junior tennis days when we played some of the Southern Circuit tournaments together back in places like Chattanooga and Louisville. And I remember her great enthusiasm and energy was so special to be around. You could never be down when you were around Janice. She wouldn't allow it. Her great sense of humor and positive spirit is still very much in evidence today. Jeff Moore, the well-respected former coach at the University of Texas and a University of the Redlands alumni, sends his best to you. He wrote, "No one deserves this honor more than Janice. Her record as a player speaks for itself, but it's her high standards and integrity on and off the court that elevates her above others." We've also heard from Wendy Turnbull, the Rabbit, and I know that she reached out to Janice directly to congratulate you. Ann Pittman, another former coach and friend, called yesterday to congratulate you and say that she is so sorry that she couldn't be here tonight to enjoy this great honor with you. Tony Trabert also sends his best wishes. It is wonderful that Janice continues to teach and coach, as there could be no better role model for young players today than Janice. Now let the cameras roll on the video.
Game, set, match. Janice Metcalf Cromer. In the history of women's collegiate tennis, Janice Metcalf stands tall. Learning the game as a youngster in Southern California, Metcalf was coached by her father Malcolm, a 2-time Olympian in the javelin. When she entered the University of Redlands in 1971, she became the first woman ever to play on the Redlands men's team. "It was great for my tennis," Metcalf said, and her results showed it. With her powerful serve and all-court game, she won the National Collegiate Singles title 2 years in a row, in 1973 and 74, and helped the Redlands men team capture 2 NAIA national titles. While still in college, she garnered 6 additional national titles, including the only three-peat in the U.S. Amateur Clay Court Championship. She also gained an invitation to play against Britain on the Maureen Connolly Brinker Cup team. Metcalf also faced off against the Brits as a 3-time member of the U.S. Junior Whiteman Cup team. She earned Player of the Year honors in 1971. Expanding her international play, she traveled to Germany in 1973 as a member of the U.S. Fed Cup team. Metcalf then went on to Moscow, earning a bronze medal in the World University Games under coach Ann Pittman. After graduating from Redlands, Metcalf competed as a pro for 3 years, winning the Spanish Open in 1975 and 2 Futures Tour titles in the U.S. She was forced to retire in 1977 after a severe knee injury. I was miserable for about 2 days, she said, and then I said the heck with it and went on to other things. Those other things included earning a master's at Cal State Fullerton and serving as head counselor at the tennis camp of Grand Slam legend Tony Trabert. She also served as women's tennis coach at SMU for several seasons and as a teaching pro at the Claremont Club in her native Southern California. In 1987, Janice Metcalf began a new stage of life, marrying Dan Cromer. 3 years later, she took up a long-term career at San Dimas High School in California. The little girl who left swimming for tennis, seeking a warmer sport, has found all the warmth she needed as an inspirational coach, teacher, and mentor. And she's still standing tall.
While Janice is coming forward, I would like to introduce to you her husband, Dan, Jim Ducey, a childhood friend and current tennis coach at Janice's alma mater, the University of Redlands. Welcome to you. Would you please stand?
Didn't expect to get teared up. I can see if I can see my notes. Well, thank you so very much for this wonderful recognition and tribute. I feel humbled to be in the company of such exceptional individuals. My fellow inductees this year and in years past have accomplished so many great things in women's tennis, and because of this have made possible opportunities and experiences that I've enjoyed for many years. As a junior player, my father was my motivation, inspiration, and coach. He was a two-time Olympian in 1932 in Los Angeles and in 1936 in Berlin, and I guess I must have acquired some of his athletic genes. He was certainly my biggest the biggest influence in my life. We discovered every public park court and college court in the Claremont area. He taught me not only the tennis skills and work ethic I would need to compete, but also that one should be humble with victories and gracious with defeat. He was also darn good at keeping my tennis shoes lasting a long time with a product known as Shoe Goo. Sponsors came later for me. Another individual who also instilled in me a tremendous work ethic, especially when it came to physical conditioning, was Coach Jim Verdick from the University of Redlands. Kangaroo jumps, running the stadium steps, and the dry, sandy flood control channel were just part of his regimen. He was incredibly supportive when I decided that I wanted to play on the men's team to not only improve my game, but also help in our team's successful history and tradition. I won't ever forget the first road trip I took with the guys. We were playing UC Riverside, and it was a typical hot day there. We piled into Coach's station wagon after the match, and I asked for one of the guys to roll down the windows, and I made the mistake of saying, "Whew, it is sure gamey in here." And without a beat, one guy who eventually became one of my best friends and loyal supporters grumbled, "Well, it didn't smell this bad last year." That was my introduction to what would become many great times with this team, who accepted me as a valuable contributor to the team and as their friend. The summers in between my college years were spent traveling with the Junior Whiteman Cup squad. They were great fun, especially with the likes of Ann Lebedeff and Trish Bostrom as co-captains. We saw a lot of beautiful countryside traveling in that long stretch cab as we played East Coast and Southern state tournaments. My first trip to Europe with our Federation Cup team in Germany, and then on the University World Games team in Moscow with Coach Ann Pittman and Coach Verdick, brought to me the realization that there is no greater privilege that an athlete gets than to be able to represent your country in competition. My pro career was a chance to travel the world even more and play in such far-flung places as the clay courts of Rhodesia and in the Royal Albert Hall with those lovely tuxedoed linesmen. What a wonderful life tennis was allowing me to enjoy. Well, after demolishing my knee to the point that no more surgeries would help, I did what seemed natural. I went back to school and decided to earn my master's degree. My transition from tennis player and competitor to that of teacher and coach was made so much easier and with such pleasure as I spent 3 delightful summers working for a man that has been such an incredible ambassador of goodwill and greatness to tennis. Tony Trabert became another wonderful influence in my life as I made this transition in my life. His camp and his ability to exact excellence and graciousness taught me more life lessons in how I wanted to treat people as I went on to teach and coach. These lessons I have taken with me as I've gone on to give lessons of my own at the college level, the tennis club scene, and now for the past 18 years at San Dimas High School. I know that we all share a love for this great game. It has certainly brought me tremendous joy. From my junior tennis playing days, collegiate tennis, the professional circuit, and my time spent teaching and coaching, I have especially enjoyed all of the friendships over the years. And I am so delighted to have had the chance to get reacquainted here with some of these friends that I've not seen in over 30 years. I would like to especially thank the Hall of Fame Committee, and in particular Millie, Sarah, and Betsy for this wonderful occasion. My husband and I have had a truly great vacation here in Williamsburg, and we thank you so much for your hospitality. I would like to also thank Jim Ducey from the University of Redlands for making the trip out here from California to celebrate with Dan and I. You are very special, and I thank you for sharing this with me. I'm sure that my parents, my sister, and collegiate coach Jim Verdick are extremely proud right now as they look down from tennis heaven. And my playing career may have been short-lived, but it was filled with exciting times and some proud moments. But I know that this is my proudest. Thank you all again for this wonderful tribute and honor.
And now let's turn our attention to my good friend Gigi Fernandez. I believe Gigi still has the distinction of achieving Clemson's highest ranking in singles and doubles of any female player. We played and traveled together about the same time, or I was quite a bit older, so I was around before Gigi came along. And we were teammates on the Whiteman Cup team. Gigi always drew enormous attention from the media and spectators. Was it her beauty, her tennis skill, her sense of humor, or her fun-loving and flamboyant personality? Well, it was all of those. She and her partner, Natasha Zvereva, became the world's premier doubles team. They and others likened them to the MTV cartoon characters Beavis and Butthead. Gigi was usually Butthead, but actually she could have been either. The world has not seen a more fun-loving or successful doubles team since they retired. Gigi credits another Collegiate Hall of Famer, Julie Anthony, with helping her improve her game and put a positive spin on her emotions. Gigi's success as a champion and 2-time Olympic medalist inspired her to establish the Gigi Fernandez Charitable Foundation. The foundation has a long history of supporting Hispanic population prominent in South Florida, donating over $500,000 to Hispanic youth organizations since its inception. Since her retirement from the tour in 1997, she has remained active in tennis. In 2003, she captained the Puerto Rican Fed Cup team and has remained very involved in all endeavors involving helping and tennis. And now for a video featuring Gigi's career.
Game, set, match. Beatriz Gigi Fernandez. When Gigi Fernandez was born in 1964, no little girl in Puerto Rico could have dreamed of becoming a tennis champion. Fernandez changed all that the moment she picked up a racket. She soon began winning tournaments and caught the attention of college recruiters as a teenager. In her freshman year as a Clemson Tiger, she compiled a 40-7 win-loss record in singles and reached the NCAA finals. Fernandez then decided to go pro, becoming Puerto Rico's first professional female athlete. 16 years later, in 1999, she was named Puerto Rican Female Athlete of the Century. Fernandez won her first Grand Slam title at the U.S. Open in 1988, pairing with Robin White to take down Martina Navratilova and Pam Shriver 6-4, 6-1. With her brilliant serve and volley game, Fernandez emerged as one of the greatest doubles players of all time. Altogether, she won a remarkable 17 Grand Slam doubles titles. She captured 14 of those titles in a dynamic duo with Natasha Zavirova of Belarus. Opposites in temperament, they formed a perfectly matched set on court. Sports Illustrated called them the liveliest act around, known to hit balls between their legs, over their backs, and lying on the ground. Fernandez also formed great partnerships with her fellow Americans.